The few dim bulbs in the prison corridor threw long, flickering shadows into the night. Lying on my bunk with my hands behind my head, sleep was the last thing on my mind. Instead, my thoughts were tangled in a maze of memories I wished I could just erase. Then came the footsteps. I started counting 7, 8, 9, 10. Right on cue, the guard showed up, his face as blank and cold as everyone else's around here. He was just doing his rounds, not looking for a chat. It didn't matter if he noticed me. He was there and I was stuck here. Once he disappeared, I stopped counting. What was the point? He wouldn't be back for another 92 minutes. I stared at the ceiling, plotting my escape. Just 5 more days and I'd be out of this hellhole for good. 7 months down on a 1-year sentence, my job was waiting for me, but everything else totally shattered. My older brother Gary had fixed my car, taken care of my house, and managed my dwindling savings. Was I angry that didn't even scratch the surface? But I buried those feelings until I could finally walk out of here. I finally got why guys doing 10 or 20 years came out as empty shells. You check your humanity at the door when you arrive. Survival is the name of the game here. And honestly, this place is a vacation spot compared to the brutal prison up north. I closed my eyes again, hoping to snag a few hours of sleep. I missed my old bedroom with its blackout curtains, but deep down I knew life would never be the same. "I'll pick you up next Tuesday," Gary had said during our last visit at the visitor center. The phone pressed to his ear while we looked at each other through the glass, both hoping it was for the last time. "What do you want to eat on your first night out? A steak? A big juicy medium rare steak?" Gary had grinned. "Steve, you're so predictable. I thought you'd ask for something trickier to sneak past my wife. You'll crash with me and Andy until you get back on your feet. Your house is empty, no food, barely any furniture. It'll give you time to sort yourself out. It's not the Ritz-Carlton, but it's clean, and you can come and go as you please." He smiled. I didn't. "Thanks," I started, but he cut me off. "Forget it. We're family. That's what family does. Don't stress about Mom and Dad. They'll come around once the dust settles," but we both knew that wouldn't happen anytime soon. Emotions were running too high all around. "Seen the kids lately? They were at Mom and Dad's over the weekend. Heather looks the same, but John's got that ridiculous broccoli haircut that's all the rage now. Looks awful." I told him so. You know what he said? He said I'm not his dad and he doesn't have to listen to me. I would have tanned his hide, but Mom was right there. "You're gonna have your hands full with that one." John would never have dared say that to me, even though I am his father. Both he and his sister would be staying with their mom after I got out. I had time, plenty of it. Once I was free, I'd wait for the right moment. No rush. Even after the divorce, I still owned half the house. Kathy owed me about $65,000 to buy out my share. She probably cleaned out our safe deposit box, taking all the bonds and securities. Luckily, I'd given my lawyer a full inventory of what was in there beforehand, so there wouldn't be any disputes when I got out, and release was close. Kathy and my former best friend Bob really set me up, but that was all in the past. They caught me off guard the first time, but they wouldn't get a second chance. I waited, I remembered. I looked forward to the day I'd finally be out of this hole. Only then could I start picking up the pieces. I just hoped I had the strength to hold on until then. Before prison, life felt pretty great. I mean, I didn't see the knife coming for my back. Right? For weeks, some so-called friends were dropping hints like they knew something was up. But they never actually said a word. What were they thinking? That I was in the loop and okay with it? Everyone probably knew what was going down. I would have never put up with it. But people just didn't want to get involved. And my marriage? Well, I thought it was solid. 12 years, 2 kids, a nice house, good jobs. Sure. We had our little squabbles, but I loved my wife and could never have imagined what she was capable of. We didn't have a huge circle of friends, just a few couples from the neighborhood. Most had been married about as long as us, around 7 years. Everyone had at least 2 kids, except for Bob and Connie. They were always trying for a baby, but just couldn't catch a break. Kathy probably knew why, but I didn't want to pry. Connie had started drinking heavily about a year ago. At first it was just a little melancholy, but it spiraled out of control. Bob barely touched a drop. Always taking care of her. "Bob, honey, get me another one." She'd start, and by the end of the night, she'd be demanding drinks, like it was her job. Poor Bob would have to carry her home. It was sad, but honestly, it was his problem, not mine. "Connie was a nightmare tonight," I said, getting ready for bed. "I think she blacked out more than once. Greg and Judy probably left early because she started taking off her clothes and asked Greg to help her. Nobody let her near the pool." "I feel sorry for Bob," my wife said. "Connie's desperate because she can't have kids, but taking it out on him isn't the answer." I told her they could adopt, but she wouldn't hear of it. She blamed Bob for everything. "Either they'll figure it out or split up," I said. "We should go out for dinner next week. I hope she can behave for one night, but I'm not counting on it. I'll talk to her this week. Maybe she calmed down for just one evening, my wife said, trying to stay positive. Spoiler alert, Connie did not calm down. Waiter, how's a girl supposed to get a drink around here? She slurred, and there she was on Bob's case again. I could see he was about to blow, so I stepped in. Come on, Connie, you promised me a dance, I said, leading her to the dance floor. She tried to refuse, but I wasn't having it. I danced with her for 3 songs while my wife chatted with a clearly miserable Bob. Then, Connie excused herself and headed for the ladies' room. After 5 minutes, I started to wonder what was taking so long. I asked 2 women heading in to check on her, and the news wasn't good. Is she in a bright yellow dress? One of the women asked, peeking out from the restroom. When I nodded, she shook her head. She's passed out in the stall. I can stand guard while you get her if you want. I went in, picked her up, and propped her against the sink, splashing cold water on her face. It helped for a second, but then she went limp again. I practically had to carry her back to our table. Bob, let me help you get Connie to the car. She's out cold and won't be waking up anytime soon. I stood there holding a drunken Connie while Bob looked both embarrassed and furious. Steve, I've got it. Sit down. It's not the first time, but it's the last. Despite his protests, I carried her out while he grabbed her purse and said his goodbyes. I laid Connie in the back seat and clapped Bob on the back. Sorry, buddy. What else could I say? Thanks for the help. I just don't know what to do anymore. You guys need counseling. You can't figure this out on your own. If you need support, call me and Kathy. We'll help however we can. Okay, he replied, but I could tell it was just empty words. Their issues seemed way too deep to fix. I gave them a couple of months tops. I wasn't far off, but nobody expected the finale. 3 weeks later, on a Thursday just after 10:30 p.m., sirens blared and flashing lights lit up the end of our block. Curiosity got the better of everyone, and we all rushed outside to see what was going on. Kathy, stay here. I'll check it out, I told her as I joined the crowd. Rescue workers were trying to pry open the door of Bob's car. What happened? Is Bob okay? I asked, anxiety creeping in. It's not Bob, it's Connie. They had a fight. She grabbed his keys, took off down the street, and well, she didn't get far. Connie had crashed into a parked car going about 40 miles per hour. An ambulance showed up, loaded her onto a stretcher, and sped off with Bob right behind. Their front door was wide open, lights on, and the place looked like a tornado hit it. I called Kathy to fill her in, then locked up Bob's house, leaving a note to let him know I had the keys. How's Connie? My wife asked when I got back. Not great. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt and swerved at the last second. The airbag went off, but she hit her head on the window hard enough to shatter it. She was going about 35. Bob's with her at the hospital. Should we go? Go? He's got enough on his plate. Let's wait until tomorrow when things settle down. For now, let's get some sleep. The night flew by. We kissed goodnight but barely slept, worried sick about Connie. The next morning at 11 o'clock, my phone rang. Steve, Connie's on life support. My wife screamed. I'm leaving work. Bob's a wreck. Someone needs to be there. Meet me at the hospital, she said, her voice frantic before hanging up. Damn, the guy just couldn't catch a break. On my way, I picked up lunch for 3 and called Kathy's parents to arrange for the kids after school. I quietly walked into the waiting room where my wife and others were comforting Bob. How is she? I asked. Not good, my wife whispered. The doctor talked to Bob and he's barely said a word since. Bob, I said, sitting next to him. You okay? Yeah, I know it's a dumb question, but I had to start somewhere. Steve, she's not getting better. Almost no brain activity. I don't know what to do. He started to cry. I motioned for everyone else to give us a moment. Has anyone told Connie's parents? They're on their way. Steve, the hospital staff keeps asking about a will and a donor card. It feels like vultures circling. The doctor asked if I'd consider turning off the machines if she's brain dead. For God's sake, she's my wife, not a piece of meat, he shouted, frustration spilling over. Why can't they just fix her? They're doctors. Can't they fix her? I had no answer. Connie's parents arrived soon after and went with Bob to her room. Loud sobs and yelling followed. Her dad seemed to blame Bob for what happened to Connie. A doctor went in, and about 20 minutes later, everyone came out. Her parents left heartbroken, knowing they'd never speak to their daughter again. We left the hospital around 8 p.m. and picked up the kids from Kathy's parents. I couldn't shake the thought. God, I hope I never have to make that choice. 48 hours later, in a room with Bob, Connie's parents, and a doctor, they turned off the machines, keeping her alive. She slipped away quietly. We did our best to comfort Bob. Despite her difficult behavior, he had truly loved her. Funerals have a way of highlighting the good memories, don't they? The funeral was packed and everyone cried. Bob took it hard, eventually taking a month off to visit his family back east. I promised him I'd look after his house. I love you, you know that, I said to my wife as we got ready for bed. The last few weeks had drained us, but life was slowly returning to normal. If I'm ever in Connie's position, just pull the plug. I don't want to be kept alive by machines. Steve, don't say that. That would never happen to us. Bob returned a few weeks later, more or less put back together. Kathy helped him sort through Connie's things. After 3 months, he seemed to be coming to terms with the loss. We tried to include him in social events. The neighbors tried to hook him up on a few dates, but nothing really clicked. Life just kept moving on. After 6 months, Bob seemed to be enjoying life again. It was such a relief to see him smile and have fun again. Our old Bob was finally back. Looking back, maybe I missed some signs. Kathy and I were tight, but something felt off. We were still close, but something felt off. After a couple of months, I finally asked Kathy if anything was bothering her. Nothing, Steve. Why do you ask? You've seemed distant lately. It's fine, she smiled. Maybe you just need more affection. If you want more, just ask. Affection. She'd never called it that before. It was always making love. I smiled, kissed her, and tried to shake off the nagging feeling. I'll never forget that Friday, August 20th. It was the day everything fell apart. Kathy called me at work saying the kids were at her parents' for the weekend and asked when I'd be home. I'll try to leave early. Need me to grab anything? Nope. Just let me know when you're on your way. Okay. A million thoughts raced through my mind. It was 3:30 p.m., an hour and a half until I could leave. I adjusted my pants, daydreaming about a fun weekend ahead. I drove home carefully to avoid a speeding ticket, but still made it in just 28 minutes. I should have been suspicious when I saw 2 cars in the driveway, but one of them was Bob's. Hi. Honey, I'm home. I called out. Bob and Kathy were in the kitchen. Hey Bob, what's up Steve? I need to talk to you. Please, sit down. Kathy looked nervous, her voice trembling. I'll stand, I said. Steve, I wanted to tell you myself before you got the papers. I was confused. Kathy, what papers? She stepped back. The divorce papers, she barely managed to say. My heart skipped a beat. Kathy, what are you talking about? What divorce papers? Steve ... double quotes, Bob started, but I cut him off. Bob, stay out of this. This is between me and my wife. Then it hit me. I looked at her, then at him, then back at her. Bob, you'd better leave now. My hands clenched into fists. Kathy, you and I need to talk. Now I yelled, Bob, stay, my wife said. Steve, this involves him too. Bob, get out now or you'll be carried out of here in a body bag, I warned. He turned to the door. Kathy, we need to talk. Steve, there's nothing to say. I love Bob. I'm really sorry. You've got to be kidding. How long has this been going on? Since before Connie died, Bob interjected, his eyes blazing with anger. Steve, you don't know the whole story. Oh, I know enough. While I was there for you, you were with my wife. Get out of my house, both of you, Steve. This is my house too, Kathy shot back. Not anymore. Just leave. I'll grab my things and go, she said. No, just go now. Kathy, let's get out of here, Bob urged, guiding her to the door. Listen to him, I sneered. Steve, I'll come back for my stuff when you've calmed down. You'll be dead by then, I spat. They left, their eyes glued to me. Once they were gone, I completely lost it. After 2 beers and a lot of chaos, my house was a wreck. I tossed all of Kathy's things onto the lawn and turned on the sprinklers for 4 hours. Then I locked up and drank until I passed out. The next morning, I noticed that Kathy had taken her things. I was still furious and heartbroken. I didn't reach out to anyone, but I figured the neighbors probably knew what was going on. I called Kathy's parents to see if I could talk to the kids, but her mom wasn't having it. Steve, Kathy picked them up last night, she said. Bullshit, Fran. She was just grabbing her stuff from the lawn. Let me talk to my kids. She hung up on me, and when I called back, she didn't answer. Fuming, I canceled all our credit cards and withdrew as much cash as I could from the bank. I made myself some coffee, ate a piece of toast, and mapped out my day, changed the garage code, install new locks, and stash anything valuable at my brother's house. Just as I was about to head out, the doorbell rang. I peeked through the peephole and saw a guy holding a large envelope. He waited a few minutes before leaving. I told my brother Gary and his wife Andy what had happened and asked them to keep it on the down low. After that, I took off to Home Depot for new locks. When I got back, I spotted Bob's car in the driveway and saw Kathy loading it up. I should have just driven away, but my anger got the best of me. Instead of backing off, I slammed on the gas, screeched into my driveway, and rammed the back of Bob's car. He had just jumped in when I hit him, pinning his car against the garage door. I backed up about 15 feet and floored it again, smashing his car into the garage door. Steam billowed from under my hood, and the engine made a horrible noise, but I wasn't done yet. I reversed again, trying to shove Bob's car a little more, but my car stalled out. My heart was racing. I grabbed my son's aluminum bat from the garage and started swinging, shattering the driver's side window and the windshield. Just as I was about to open Bob's door, I heard loud voices behind me. "Drop the bat and put your hands on your head," a cop shouted. I dropped to my knees, complying with their orders. They cuffed me and tossed me in the patrol car. Bob, looking shaken and scared, climbed out of his car. I wanted to threaten him, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. My wife was crying, talking to the police, while glancing at me. I smiled back at her, trying to keep it together. At the station, they processed me and let me make one call. I called my brother Gary. Since it was the weekend, I ended up spending 2 nights in jail before facing the judge on Monday. I pleaded not guilty, but the judge set bail. Gary posted it late that evening. "Steve, they're talking attempted murder, or at least assault with a deadly weapon," he said. "I know. First, take me to the bank. She's probably cleaned out the accounts, but I need to check." The cash from our accounts was gone, but not the securities and bonds. However, a court order prevented me from touching them. "You could have left me at least $5 in the account." "You really are petty," I said to Kathy when she answered the phone. "I needed that money for me and the kids. Doesn't Bob make enough? I have to pay for the house. Maybe I'll just set a little fire in the living room, to keep warm." "Steve, stop talking nonsense. I'm sorry it came to this, but you're making it worse. Why can't you just accept it and move on?" "I'll move on when you bring my children home, Steve. I can't, especially not in your current state. I don't think you'd hurt them, but I can't take the risk. When all this is over, I'll let you see them as much as you want. But I can't say the same for you and Bob. This is the last time I'm talking to you. From now on, you'll need to chat with my lawyer. I really wish it didn't have to end like this. Kathy, you have no idea how sorry you and Bob are going to be." And just like that, she hung up on me. In court, my lawyer went for the temporary insanity angle, saying my actions were just a spur-of-the-moment reaction to Kathy's shocking news. Kathy and Bob claimed they were terrified and even mentioned a restraining order. "Mr. Moore," the judge asked, "did you tell Mr. Kelly that if he didn't leave, he'd be carried out in a body bag?" "I can't recall my exact words, Your Honor, maybe something like that. But honestly, how would you feel if your buddy was with your wife behind your back?" The judge didn't seem impressed, and my lawyer shot me a warning glance. "Steve, keep quiet. Got it? From now on, you don't remember anything. Is that clear? I'm trying to prove you didn't know what you were doing, and your comments aren't helping." He had a point. Chris, my boss and a key witness, stood by me. He testified that I was a solid employee who never lost my cool. Once he wrapped up, the hearing ended and we were left waiting for the judge's decision, which would take a few days. Back at work, Chris jokingly suggested hiring some guys to make Bob and Kathy disappear. I laughed it off, saying I'd rather handle things myself, but I couldn't help but wonder how much something like that would cost. Fast forward 6 months and $112,000 later, I felt like a complete fool, played by both my ex-wife and the system. The divorce was finalized and she walked away with half of everything. The house and all our valuables were up for sale. Kathy claimed her jewelry was missing and accused me of taking it. I shot back that mine was missing too, hinting that she might have taken it all. "He's going to jail. Are they out of their minds?" I yelled at my lawyer after the judge handed down the sentence. "Steve, it could have been worse. You could have killed him and faced a manslaughter charge. With good behavior, you'll be out in less than 8 months and your record will be clean in 2 years. Just serve your time, get out, and move on." Easier said than done. I wasn't looking forward to spending every minute in prison. I appealed, but it was pointless. In just 1 year, my life had spiraled from perfect to a total nightmare, all thanks to Kathy and Bob. "Steve, your job will be waiting for you when you get out. Just don't do anything stupid and keep your head down," Chris advised. After a final visit with the kids, I turned myself in. I started serving my time in the county facility. My brother was kind enough to put money in my inmate account, but honestly, most of the stuff for sale was junk. Without a cell phone or computer, I jotted down my thoughts on paper and called my brother, mom, and kids every couple of weeks to stay in the loop. During one visit, my brother said, "I'll have your car fixed by the time you get out. I found someone who will do it for the insurance payout. I'm also keeping up with your lawn and installed new locks." Kathy took the rest of her and the kids' stuff, but left the furniture after I insisted on a court order for removal. I felt so grateful for my brother's support. Kathy let my parents see the kids every other Sunday but talked trash about me and my family. She called me their jailbird daddy and planned to set strict rules for when I got out. My parents put up with her nonsense just to keep the lines of communication open. With just 7 days left, I confirmed my visitation rights every other weekend, a full month in the summer, and split holidays. I told my boss I'd need a week to readjust after my release. I was beyond thrilled to trade in my orange jumpsuit for some street clothes. Gary was waiting outside, and we headed straight to the nearest bar to freedom. I shouted, clinking our bottles before downing the first of 3 beers. Andy's cooking steak for dinner with all the trimmings. You can crash with us for a few days while you sort things out at the house. It's still on the market. No offers yet. Kathy wants to lower the price, but she needs your go-ahead. I smiled. All the furniture is still there, but I torched the master bedroom set like you asked. Dinner was fantastic. I ate more than I had in the last 8 months, really savoring the freedom to do what I wanted. I might have overdone it on the drinks, vaguely remembering 5 or 6 beers and 3 glasses of wine. The next morning, I woke up after 10 o'clock and finally dragged myself to the bathroom by 11 o'clock. In the kitchen, I spotted a note on the counter. If you're reading this, you survived last night. Coffee's made, everything else is in the fridge. There's soap, a razor, aftershave, a toothbrush, and paste in the guest bathroom. If you need anything else, we'll get it tonight. Your car and house keys are on the hook by the back door. Don't do anything stupid. See you around 5:30. My brother really knows me well. 2 cups of coffee and an English muffin were all I could handle. After a shower and a shave, I felt almost human again. Gary had laid out fresh clothes, and within an hour I was headed to my house. The outside looked the same. I sat in my repaired car for 10 minutes before going inside. Memories flooded back. I noticed the new lock, and turning the key, stepped inside. It was a mess, things scattered everywhere, clothes littering the floor. The kitchen was half clean, and the fridge still had old food in it. Leaning against the sink, I saw the marks on the wall where my fist had gone through the drywall and hit a stud. I rubbed my knuckles, remembering that night. Upstairs, the kids' closets were empty except for a few forgotten trinkets. My bedroom was almost bare, just my dresser and clothes left. Dark spots on the carpet showed where our bed and her dresser had been. The room needed a complete overhaul before I could even think about using it. The whole house needed a deep clean to be sellable, but I wasn't in a hurry. I made a list of repairs and decided I just wanted it done, not necessarily by me. At the bank, I confirmed she'd emptied the safe deposit box. I needed a written statement from the bank, and they mentioned having videos as extra proof. My lawyer confirmed she'd taken everything and filed a motion for its return. The court had already ordered Kathy to return everything she'd taken from the box. Steve, she's offering her share of the house in exchange for your share of the securities and bonds. Tell her to return everything as per the court order, or she'll face contempt charges. She can be as angry as she wants. My job is to protect your interests. That's what you hire a lawyer for, I thought. Back home, I took inventory of what I had left. I noted I needed to call a local contractor to fix the walls and Molly maids to clean the kitchen and dining room where I'd smashed the microwave and dishes. The utilities were still on, so I could move back in as soon as I bought a bed. I just needed a queen-size air, and I found a decent set for $900. At least I wouldn't be sleeping on a mattress my ex-wife had shared with someone else. Hank, the contractor, came by Saturday morning to give an estimate. Walls are solid. Must have hurt when you hit that stud, he said with a grin. Just need the holes patched and a fresh coat of white paint. Nothing fancy, I replied. How about $200? That's low. That's my price. Take it or leave it. You did us all a favor with Bob in the car. Most of the guys in the neighborhood respect you now. Randy even told Linda he'd bury her alive if she ever pulled what Kathy did on you. You're a neighborhood hero. I thanked him and told him to start whenever he wanted. Within 6 weeks, the securities and bonds were back in the bank's safe deposit box, and the house was repaired and cleaned. Life was starting to feel a bit more normal again. When my kids spent their first weekend with me, it was definitely a bit awkward. I tried to break the ice by saying, "Hey kids, I know this feels strange, but this is still your home. You can say whatever's on your mind. I've toughened up, and I doubt anything can shock me anymore. Dad, we love you, and we're sorry for what Mom did," John said, with Heather nodding in agreement. They had no clue about Bob until Mom dropped the news that we were moving in with him. We weren't happy then, and honestly, we're still not thrilled about it. I reassured them. There was nothing I could do. Even without Bob, your mom and I weren't getting back together. What we had is over. I'm still your dad, and I love you. I'll always be here for you. We hugged and kicked back with pizza and a movie, which was nice. I thought about saying something bad about their mom, but I held back. Honestly, our first weekend together felt like a win. Slowly, we started to feel like a family again, even if it was a different vibe. I gave John a decent haircut, and life just kept rolling along. I went to work, had a little social life, and spent quality time with the kids. John dove into football while Heather took up dance, which kept me on my toes. Everyone, except my brother, kept saying I should just move on and find someone new. Come on, you're still young. You can get married again and start fresh, they said. I just shot back. Forget that. I wasted 14 years on that, which, if I want to stay angry, that's my choice. They didn't know what I'd been through these past 2 years. Sometimes you just need to feel that pain to heal. One way or another, Kathy wanted to lower the house price. I refused. She was furious, but I didn't care. Steve, it won't sell at this price in this market. 8.5 months after prison, a fire broke out at Bob's house while they were at a football game. Someone had soaked the electrical panel and the back of the house in gasoline. The back was wrecked, and they were left without power. The next day, 2 cops showed up at my work. They got nothing from me. I'd been at a neighborhood party with at least 10 witnesses. Steve, you were only a block away. You could have done this, one officer accused. Prove it, I replied. When I'd had enough, I stood up. Charge me, release me, or I call my lawyer. We're releasing you, but we'll be watching you. Mentally, I checked a box on my list. Asterisk 1 down, 2 to go. Asterisk, I offered to take the kids since they couldn't stay in a house with no power. Repairs would take at least 2 months, so we had a mini vacation. Steve, I know you did this. No matter what the police say, Kathy said one evening while picking up the kids. I have no idea what you're talking about. I was hanging out with friends. Too bad you and Bob aren't on the guest list anymore. Maybe I could put in a good word for you. I shot back, feeling a bit cheeky. Don't bother. We wouldn't go even if they begged us, she replied, her voice tinged with hurt. Well, you have each other, and that's what matters now. What's that supposed to mean? She asked, eyes wide. Nothing, just that you're lucky to have each other. I smiled, and this time it felt genuine. The kids wanted to spend more time with me, which neither Kathy nor Bob liked. I heard about loud arguments between Bob and the kids, where they told him he wasn't their father. Kathy told me to stop causing trouble. Kathy, I'm not bad-mouthing you to the kids. You're their mother, and I told them they have to listen to you. What about Bob? Him? He's a mean idiot who's lucky to be alive. Otherwise, he's a nice enough guy. If looks could kill, I'd be dead. He's good to your children. Stop talking badly about him to them. That's not happening. He's nothing to me, and I pray to one day piss on his grave. She shot me a death glare. Not that I'd harm him, of course. Steve, what are you going to do? Kathy, cheat on me, divorce me, put me in jail, make my life hell. Oh wait, you already did all that. You can't do anything else to me. Go back to your husband and leave me alone. Without another word, she left. To think I once loved her. I watched her go, shaking my head. Work was going great. It only took a couple of weeks to get back into the swing of things. Chris soon pushed me to take on 4 more accounts. With no kids or anyone else at home, I had the time. After contacting the clients, I scheduled 2-day trips to each facility to get familiar with their operations. 3 accounts were easy, but TWW Incorporated was different. They were changing their manufacturing process, requiring monthly visits to keep up. The assigned guy was knowledgeable but disorganized and arrogant. When I pressed for the necessary data, Chris said, if I don't get what we need, it'll mess up their system. After 2 calls, they assigned a liaison between the engineer and me. From then on, I dealt with Monica, who worked directly with the engineer. Steve, Monica Bradley. She introduced herself, shaking my hand. She had a degree in process engineering and had been with the company for about 5 years. We clicked right away, and she was super helpful, giving me everything I needed. 2 weeks before we wrapped up the first phase, I thought it'd be nice to invite her to dinner. Monica, how about I take you and your husband out to dinner as a thank you? The Hilton where I'm staying has a great restaurant. How does 6 p.m. sound? We shook hands, and I headed out of the plant around 4:30 to catch up on some paperwork and emails. At 6 o'clock, I arrived at the restaurant, but Monica came in alone. Where's your husband? I asked as I parked. Steve, I'm not married, she replied. Oh, sorry, I just assumed, I said, noticing the rings on her hand. I wear these for professionalism. No one hits on a married woman, you know? Plus, married people seem to get promoted faster, probably because they seem more stable. How do you handle corporate events? I just say he's out of town or something. They stop asking. Well, you had me fooled. We had a wonderful dinner, and by the end, I shared the highlights of the last 2 years. I can't believe they did that to you. That sucks. Tell me about it. But it's in the past, and I'm moving on with my life. I was trying to rebuild, though revenge was still a priority. Steve, you're young, and a lot of women would like a guy like you, she said, smiling and blushing. You're probably right, but I haven't had the time or desire to date again. I'm still cautious. Well, you asked me out, didn't you? You and your husband, I corrected. If I weren't married, would you still have asked me? Probably. You're easy to talk to, and you're not a miserable fool like my ex. I'll take that as a compliment, she said, laughing. Dinner was great. I left the next day and didn't return for a month. I asked her to call me weekly, especially if anything came up. I started feeling more at ease with women, even outside my immediate circle. We went out almost every evening I was in town, which was every couple of weeks. I still had trust issues, but I was working on them. Phone calls and emails kept us connected. After a couple of months, we started kissing and more. I was finally ready to take things to the next level. Asterisk, was I becoming normal again? Asterisk, I wondered. When Monica mentioned she had a conflict on Wednesday night, I didn't think much of it. We'd just been intimate on Tuesday and I'd totally forgotten to use protection. Steve, let's plan a whole evening for Thursday, she said, giving me a sweet kiss. I thought to myself, definitely using protection on Thursday. On Wednesday, I decided to check out a new restaurant on the town map. After 6 trips, I'd already tried all the local spots. Finally, I found a nice Indian place about 25 minutes away and figured I'd give it a shot. I ordered a beer and a sampler platter, ready to kick back and relax. But then, I heard a familiar laugh. To my shock, there was Monica out with another guy. They were clearly more than just friends, holding hands and laughing together. My appetite vanished. I finished my beer, paid the bill, and left. She didn't seem too busy, I thought bitterly. I decided to avoid her on Thursday and grabbed lunch at McDonald's instead. By 3 p.m., Monica was right behind me, smiling and flirting. Did you sort out your conflict last night? I asked, trying to keep it light. Yes. And tonight, you're all mine. I found this cozy Indian restaurant with an amazing appetizer sampler, she replied. I locked eyes with her. What kind of food do they serve? Indian, she said, her face going pale. I was there last night and saw someone I know. What are the odds? Monica, don't even bother. I got rid of one lying person. I don't need another. I left and cut my trip short. After ignoring 4 emails, I didn't hear from her again. The trust issues were still there and she'd made them worse. Thankfully, I was transferred to another contacted guy this time. 3 months later, I got an early Christmas surprise. Bob got hit by a car while crossing the street. Witnesses only caught a glimpse of a black 4-door sedan with tinted windows, which looked a lot like my black BMW one Saturday night. The police showed up at my door. My neighbor Tom saw them coming. Mr. Moore, we need to talk, said the shorter officer. Sure thing, I replied. Tom, I'll catch up with you later. Do you own a black BMW 320i? The other officer asked. Yeah, what's this about? I joked, thinking it was just a parking ticket, but they didn't laugh. Is the car here? Yeah, it's in the garage. What's going on? I asked, starting to feel uneasy. Sir, we need to check the vehicle, right now. I opened the garage and one officer pulled out a camera snapping photos of the front right side of my car. Can you explain these scratches and marks on the bumper? No clue. After 8 years, a few chips and scratches are just part of the deal. Now that I've answered your questions, what's this all about? Why the interest in my car? Mr. Moore, there was a hit and run yesterday, and witnesses described a black sedan with dark windows, similar to yours. Among a million others in the city, I shot back, feeling irritated. Why me? Did the license plate match? Or did someone ID me as the driver? Witnesses only saw the car. Well, as you can see, the front end has no major damage. I can account for my whereabouts from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. yesterday. Why are you harassing me? Your history with the victim and past threats led us here. Thanks for your cooperation. We're done here. Wait, I called out as they turned to leave. Who was hit? Mr. Robert Kelly. I couldn't help but smile. Is he dead? No, but he's in critical condition. They left and I went inside, popped open a bottle of wine and ordered a pizza. I devoured most of the pizza and finished the whole bottle in celebration. The neighborhood was buzzing with gossip about Bob. Some folks said, the guy just can't catch a break, while others claimed he got what he deserved. I was on cloud 9. 2 days later, Bob took a turn for the worse and passed away. I looked sharp in a new suit, fresh haircut, and polished shoes. I even washed and waxed my car. The funeral home wasn't packed, but there was a crowd outside. When I showed up, conversation stopped. I didn't sign the book, just strolled down the aisle. Kathy spotted me and looked shocked. My kids smiled at me. Kathy tried to stop me before I reached the casket, but couldn't. From the moment I walked in, I was ready. By the time I reached the casket, I had enough built up inside me. I looked at Bob lying there peacefully and spat in his face, just enough to drip onto his shirt. Kathy screamed, crying and calling me every name in the book. This time, I grinned openly. 2 down, 1 to go, I said to her. She froze, fear replacing her tears. I warned you, I whispered, and walked out of the NOI silent funeral home. Over the next month, the police questioned me twice more, thanks to Kathy's insistence. The fact that it wasn't his car doesn't mean he wasn't involved, she claimed. They never caught the driver, and soon it was just old news. When a patrol car rolled into my driveway, I kinda saw it coming. I locked up my house while my neighbors watched me get taken to the station again. Mr. Moore, do you know David Kent? one detective asked, showing me a photo. Yeah, I know him, I replied. And how do you know Mr. Kent? I hired him to keep an eye on my ex-wife. He's been doing that on and off for about a month now. I pushed the photo back towards him. Why'd you hire Mr. Kent to watch your ex? Ever since she got with her late husband, she's had a streak of bad luck. My kids live with her, so I wanted David to make sure they're safe, especially at night. Well, your ex-wife reported being stalked. She's seen Mr. Kent a few times and called us. When we picked him up, we found out you hired him, the detective said, a bit sarcastically. Mr. Moore, this is getting close to harassment, and you could face charges if it keeps up. I'm just looking out for my kids. I don't care what happens to my ex, but my kids mean everything to me. If it's a problem, I'll let your department handle their safety. It's not illegal, but it's definitely pushing the limits. Why not talk to your ex and sort things out? Last time I tried that, I ended up in jail. They let me go, but warned me they'd be keeping an eye on me. I wasn't paying David to be discreet. I wanted Kathy to see him. The next guy I hired was even more in your face, looking like he stepped out of a biker movie. He charged $30 an hour and worked 3 hours every fourth night. But he had the desired effect. I wanted to push my ex to her limit. If she cracked, I'd get full custody of the kids. I wanted my family back. Steve, what the hell do you want? Kathy yelled into the phone, clearly agitated. I want you to choke on your own spit and die, Kathy. She hung up immediately, shocked. I waited on my porch for the police to show up. You're late, I said as the officers arrived. Kathy accused me of making death threats, but I had already contacted my lawyer, who was waiting at the station. My client did not threaten his ex-wife. My lawyer told the police. He expressed a wish, not a threat. She saw it as a threat because she's still being followed by people your client hired. Watching someone isn't illegal. Unless you have a recording of Mr. Moore threatening to kill Mrs. Kelly, you've got no case. Mr. Moore, why don't you just move on? She left you. It happens. If she cracks and someone gets hurt, we're coming for you. Is there a way to stop this? I asked my lawyer. My client wants his kids back. If Mrs. Kelly gives up custody, he'll back off. That's for the courts to decide. Then we're done here, my lawyer said, and we left. The next Sunday morning, while I was having breakfast and reading the paper on the patio, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Kathy's parents standing there. Steve, do you have a minute to talk? Of course. Come on in, I said, noticing their church clothes. Can I get you a cup of coffee? I asked. No, thank you, she replied. What brings you by? Kathy's dad chimed in. Steve, we know our daughter messed up, especially with your jail time, but she's our only daughter. We just don't want anything bad to happen to her. Look, I'm not trying to hurt her. She made some bad choices, and now she's paying for them. I just want my kids back. They'd be better off with me, especially with her streak of bad luck. I wouldn't want anything to happen to them if something happened to her. They stared at me, clearly at a loss for words. Steve, we'll talk to her. But you know how she is, Kathy's mom said, trying to ease the tension. That's where you're wrong. The woman I married would never have cheated and thrown me to the wolves. Now, I barely recognize Hirsch. She's just the mother of my kids to me. I want her to feel the pain she caused. I don't forgive, and I don't forget. They left quickly, and I felt like I got my point across. Later that Thursday evening, the visitor I'd been waiting for finally showed up. It was just after 7 p.m., and it was getting dark. She must have walked because I didn't hear a car. She rang the bell, and I looked through the peephole before letting her in. She was already fuming as she stepped through the door. I had expected a call, but seeing her in person felt even better. Come in, Kathy. Want a drink? Hemlock on the rocks, I said, closing the door behind her. Very funny. You're a real jerk. You know that? She shot back. I opened the door again. I think we're done here. Nice of you to stop by. Have a short, miserable life, I said, holding the door open. I'm not leaving until we talk, she insisted, cautiously taking a seat in the living room. Suit yourself, I replied, closing the door and heading for a glass of wine. So, what brings you to my humble abode? I still own 50% of this house, she declared, minus what I've paid since the divorce, I reminded her. I want to sell this place. What will it take to lower the price? She asked. An act of God, are you ready to cover the loss with interest? I shot back. I just want you out of this neighborhood and away from me, she stated firmly. That's never happening, I said, standing my ground. Do you still hate me that much? She asked, looking right at me. More than you can imagine. It's terrible how this turned out. But I never meant to get involved with Bob. It just happened, she said. She couldn't think I was that clueless. Come on, Kathy. Nothing just happens unless he had a gun to your head. You made a choice. Was he that much better in bed that you destroyed our marriage and family? My anger flared. It wasn't about sex. He needed me. He had no one. We fell in love because we needed each other. She defended. And what were you? A charity case? I needed you. Our kids needed you. Our marriage needed you. But you picked your needy puppy over us. Now he's gone, and guess what? He's a lot less needy. Pity it wasn't me behind the wheel of the car that killed him. Steve, you've become so full of hate. Taking pleasure in someone else's misfortune is sick, she chastised. I'd like to say I did this to myself, but you and your lover played a big part. That's just an excuse. Kathy, sure, 60% of marriages fail, but not every ex-spouse ends up hating each other. I just want to know how long I was a fool, she shot back. Does it matter? To me, yes. 2 months, 3-5, she pressed. About 5, I replied. 5 months. It just happened that first time, and I almost told you. I was desperate, she admitted, but it sounded rehearsed. But you didn't tell me, and if you were really desperate, it wouldn't have kept going. How many times did you fuck him in our bed? I demanded. Never. I wouldn't do that to you, she said angrily. So, it was fine to sleep with him everywhere else. A bunch of our friends knew but never said a word. You've shown me I can't trust you. What now? This house is our last tie, she said. What about the children? I'm not giving up on them. Nothing you say will change that, I asserted. My mind was racing. Kathy, I'm not trying to change your mind. You got full custody because of what you put me through. If I hadn't lost it over Bob and that car, maybe things would have turned out differently. But hey, he got what was coming to him. Now it's just us. Her eyes got big. Steve, are you threatening me? She asked. Deprive my kids of their mom. I shot back, dripping with sarcasm. Not a chance. But if something happens, ... like a heart attack or a lightning strike, I'll make sure the kids remember you well. If you have any last requests, you might want to write them down soon. You never know what might happen. 2 borrowed that line from a movie where a hitman tells his target to get his affairs in order. I'm out, Kathy said, getting up. 12 great years, and it sucks to end like this. She leaned in for a kiss, but I gently pushed her back. Don't you dare touch me again, I warned you, jerk. She looked shocked. I'm sorry, I just thought, ... double quotes, she began. Thought, what? That we're cool now? You seriously make my skin crawl? I shot back, my anger flaring. Sorry, she mumbled, looking scared. Don't apologize. I'm not, I replied. She strolled down the driveway. By the way, did you just give me that look? Bob had that same look just before the car hit him. Wish I had a camera, I said, slamming the door as I watched Kathy dash toward her house. I'm the one who started the fire at Bob's place. Just a Gatorade, bottles of gas, and a lit cigarette did the trick. I made sure everyone was out first. 2 was really hoping the fire wouldn't get reported until the house was fully engulfed. Guess that plan didn't pan out. It took under 5 minutes to wrap it all up, even tossing those plastic Gatorade bottles in the neighbor's trash can. I slipped out to use the bathroom, then snuck through some backyards to get to the back of Bob's place. Nobody even noticed I was gone. I wish I could say I caused Bob's downfall, but I can't. Bob was either in the wrong place at the right time or just plain lucky. If he'd just looked both ways, like his mom said, he'd be here. Kathy and her family still believe I had a hand in it, and honestly, part of me wishes I did, but I'd never do that. I'd already done time once and never wanted to go back, especially not to the prison up north. Anyway, by now, Kathy was probably home, locking her doors, thinking she was next on my list. Was I going to go after her? Not a chance. I'd just hint and insinuate until she cracked, and the courts gave me my kids. I'd definitely warn any home buyer about the local arsonist. I love living here, especially with my kids just down the street. Who knows? Maybe when they turn 13, they'll choose to live with their dad. I can dream, right? The best thing that's happened to me lately? Meeting someone I can really see a future with? Ellen works at the State Department of Corrections. I had to touch base with her during my first year out to make sure I was settling in and getting back on track. Ellen is tough and doesn't tolerate bullshit. We wrapped up the formal stuff and realized we liked each other. For ethical reasons, Ellen couldn't date me until my year of parole was up, but we finally went on a real date. I told her I had serious trust issues, and she replied that most convicts lie to her one way or another. We're both working on our trust issues together and getting to know each other better, right? Ellen made me think about what I'd been doing since my bitch-a-van wife left me. She helped me see how my choices were holding me back from real connections. It was time to let go and move on. She convinced me even more when she said that if I screwed up and went back to prison, my ass would be hers to do with as she pleased. And, honey, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, she explained, with a smile that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I totally believe her, no doubt about it. Being with her is always a blast. No matter how tough I think I am, I'd never mess with Ellen. I love knowing she'd never betray me either. I'm ready to move on and open my heart to love again.